What's happening? What it do? Greetings and salutations. This video is me combining three of my reviews. So, I don't know, review, overview, breakdown, critical thinking. I don't know what you want to call it. The first, second, and third season of Tower of God, but that was up until our hiatus. So, after that, I'm going to be speaking a little bit about how I feel about Tower of God currently. You can go to this time stamp. Sorry, the camera was reversed. It fucked with me for a second. You have to go to the this timestamp, and you can just see the new stuff, or if you can sit through the whole thing and see how my thoughts have evolved from the first, second, and third season. And yeah, I think the first part of Tower of God is absolutely fantastic. Now, let me preface a little bit, if you don't mind, before I kind of talk about the season one and why it's great. Because I was having a conversation about Tower of God, and then somebody came in who hasn't read it yet and asked this question: when does Tower of God get good? I'm about to get into so many things, so many problems I have with a lot of these questions and replies, and then somebody answers the second season, which I don't agree with. Now, let's start with the beginning. When does it get good? I hate this question. I understand the question, but don't ask me it, because I will always be cheeky and say chapter 1. And I believe that. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to a series, I get what the question means. It's the moment where it really hooks you and you stay forever kind of thing. In One Piece, when Nami is stabbing her arm over and over, yelling Arlong, Arlong, and then Luffy comes and she's like, please help me, puts the hat on her head, and he goes, of course, and the walk to Arlong Park. That to me was when I knew One Piece was never going to go anywhere. That was the moment where I'm like, I'm here forever. Mind you, I was along for the ride the whole time up until that point. I was still enjoying it. It's just when that happened, that's when I put my seatbelt on and said, don't stop the car. You know, I get it. The reason why I never ever give you and say you have to read into Arlong Park or season 2 until it gets good is because what you're doing is you're allowing that person to coast / skim, just go through the motions until they get to that chapter number. And I've seen it happen over and over, where if you try to have a conversation with somebody about a earlier part of the series, they can't recall it that well because they just rushed to the moment where you told them it gets good. This happened to me with Kingdom. People told me to read up until the Coalition arc, and if I didn't like it, that's when I dropped it. Mind you, that's like, I want to say, about 200 chapters into the series. That's crazy. I'm not reading 200 chapters of something I don't enjoy until it gets good. Kingdom was great from the first chapter. Tower of God is great from the first chapter. One Piece is phenomenal from the first chapter. Now, this ties into something else I want to talk about. Now, me personally, I'm very patient, and I am a fan of the slow start. Why? I want to see the series go up, not decline. I'd rather see the incline and then get better and better and better and build on what it already has. And when every of those really big moments come, I like the long-term payoff. Shout out to Laz. Those moments are impactful. I like that. I find that series that start off extremely strong struggle in their latter half of the narrative, trying to relive former glory or live up to former glory. It happened. I think it happened with Naruto. Personally, I think it's happening with The Promised Neverland right now. Like, it happens pretty often, I would say. So I'm totally okay with the slow start, but I am patient, right? I have no problem reading a certain amount of chapters of something, but the way I do it is, it depends on the length. If your series is 1,000 chapters long, let's just say it's completed, I will not read 20 chapters and be like, this shit sucks. Okay? I need a good sample size. So I say I'll read about 200 chapters. If I'm not feeling it by then, I think by then I should have been very interested in something, a character, whatever the case may be. And if I'm not, I'll drop it. Now, I think you are 100% justified in dropping a series from the first episode of chapter if it's given you no reason to go to the next chapter. No character, the artwork, not the writing, not an iconic moment like Shanks putting the hat on Luffy, you know, the fateful kick with Yuri and Bam. Like, if there's no reason that the creative team has given you to continue, I think you are justified in dropping it. However, you don't get to actually criticize this series because you don't know anything about it. Now, let's go into the next part. It gets good at season 2. Oh, brother. So there's this stigma with Tower of God where it's like the first season is not that important. I actually have seen people say you can skip the first season. I'll slap the shit out of you. Don't ever say that to me. But a lot of people think that the first season Tower of God is not that good. It's bad. It only gets good when the second season starts with Viola and stuff. And the artwork is bad. I don't agree with the artwork. There's a lot of charm to the way that the artwork is framed, the panels, the paneling, and it's amateurish. Absolutely, I give you that. I don't think it's bad though. And personally, I love seeing SIU grow as an artist. Yes, now he has assistants, but seeing the artwork go up a notch and progress as the series goes on, to me is a good sign. I like to grow with my series. I like to grow with them as a writer, as an artist, as a storyteller, and I think SIU has gotten better with those things as the story has gone along. Now, let's talk about why season 1 is actually phenomenal. Understand why a lot of people disrespect the beginning of so many series. I see this with so many series. I've seen this with Kingdom. I see this with One Piece. I see this with Tower of God. I see this with JoJo. JoJo was one of the ones that annoys me the most. Phantom Blood gets no respect, and I don't understand why. Ultimately, listen. I'm about to spoil some JoJo stuff. I don't know. I just assumed everyone watches JoJo, and if you don't, well, I'm sorry. Phantom Blood is the pillar of the JoJo series. It is what everything is built upon. It is the foundation piece. You cannot have a series without the beginning and classics establishing all of the various things that will get expanded upon as it continues. So Dio is pretty much the catalyst for almost everything that happens, even in later parts. You need to know the beginnings and the origin story of him and Jonathan. I don't understand why people disrespect it. Knowing the origin of Hamon, the Joestar bloodline, is also very, very important. East Blue, same thing. Tower of God, same thing. With Tower of God, the beginning of the series is what establishes all of the important characters and plot threads. Shit, Shinsu, so certain lore, world building terms, and actual like in-tower jargon that will get expanded upon. It's the beginning. People forget about the mysticism of not knowing, seeing a new character. Oh, what are they about? Oh, there's 10 great families. Yuri, who's this? A jihad. People forget about not knowing because hindsight's 2020, and now you have all this foreknowledge. But think back to when you were first experiencing Tower of God. I don't know how many of you are new or old. I caught up the Tower of God around the last examination. Right about where Kun did that fake out with Bam so that they can do the administrator's test. That's about when I caught up. So I've been reading it from the first year. Some of you guys probably caught up recently or later on, but I remember reading that and being so mesmerized by so many different things. Like, I want to know more about Anak and her past and what happened with her mom. Who's this Yuri chick? She's badass. Han Sung-yu was this like really, really dope character to me. I really liked him. I really like Hatsu a lot. Like, learning about the beginnings of Shinsu and Bangs and learning about lighthouses, the various, like the Spear Bearer, all that stuff was just like, that's the beginning. That's where it all starts. We don't get what we get today without those classic beginning moments. And now for me, my hook, the part where it gets good to me, is chapter 1, but the part when I was along for the ride was Han Sung-yu's examination, the test of like doors, whatever you want to call it. I thought that was so fucking brilliant when I read it the first time. How many moons ago it was? I'm a dinosaur. I don't know. I'm old. I don't even know how old I am. But it was just the way he set it up with the line and the screaming and somebody being in there to try to throw you off your game. And then when you get into that room with Leader Rack, the GOAT, Aguero, and Bam, And he's there, he's overthinking it, trying to analyze everything. Like, what's the test? How do you pass it? What happens? And Rack just goes, fuck it. He picks a door and it passed the test. And he learned that it doesn't matter what you did, as long as you chose any door in 5 minutes, you're good. And I was like, yo, that's sick. And in addition to that, it gets even better when you see Shiblisu actually be the only person who passed the test by legitimately figuring it out. Because at that point, Shibisu kind of comes across as this probably not going to be important character. I think by design, he's kind of plainish, and you get that like he won't be around for long kind of impression from him. He seems like just comic relief. Remember, he's trying to get to the Shinsu veil and he's bleeding, blah blah blah. But then you get that moment, and you have to take a step back and be like, wait a minute, this nigga's smart. What the fuck? Because he's the only one who saw it by himself. Laura was just like, oh, I'm tired. This one. Pass. All right, bet. Sleep. That one guy was like, I am the Messiah. The God has spoken to me. And everyone had their own gimmick to to passing the test. Shibisu figured it out. He knew exactly what to do. So I think people forget about those little moments because that shit is fantastic. And that is what established him as an important character, because I can argue, I'm not saying he is, but I can make the argument that he's smarter or as smart as Aguero. Aguero was just a lot more deceiving, cunning, conniving, and willing to do something extremely dark, quote-unquote evil, to succeed. Where Shibisu's a much better person, so he may not kind of plunge his hands in the filth to that degree. Never forget what happened on Nahon Station. If he was not there, they would have got blown to Kingdom Come. So put respect. Shout out to East. Now, and so now like again, people are not remembering these moments. People not remembering when Shinsu was first being explained by Lobo Beer Ren, right? So now he's talking about Shinsu as the world. He's teaching you about bangs. We're learning about the various positions. Rack is competing with that one guy trying to launch spears at thing, and this is when like the positions were built up to be this very important thing. I think we've kind of lost that right now, though I do know that, as you said, the higher up you go in floors, the more important your various positions become. So I'm still very much looking forward to seeing that become a more prominent thing, because I fucking like team battles. And like Haku said back in our Shinsu stream, it was actually nice to see a lot of the Haigh-Rankers still doing this, because when they had to face Vankel number 60, you can see they had her being the fisherman. Then El Pathion was the light bearer from like a distance. Then he had the spear bearer. Like, they were still using these combination techniques. So it gives me hope that we will see that. But never forget how amazing it was to initially learn about this stuff, because I always say, in a sense, in a way, just loosely, Tower of God is kind of an isekai. You're taking Bam from outside the cave. Now, we know he's technically born on the tower, killed, and then sent outside to come back in, blah, blah, blah. He's kind of a special case, but I'm just saying, like, you're taking a character from a certain world and you're displacing them from whatever they know, and you're throwing them into a completely unknown environment. One of the main reasons I have no problem with the beginning exposition dumps you get in Tower of God is because we are Bam. We are completely foreign to this tower. We don't know anything. We need this lore dump because that helps us understand the inner workings and geography of the tower and various things about it. We have to learn that with them and with some of these regulars who are not particularly from a prestigious family or something. So we have to learn along with them. So it's important for these things to happen. And I think people forget that because now we know what we know, so like it doesn't seem as important, especially in a reread. Though I argue every time you read Tower of God, with the foreknowledge you have, you're going to notice, think, and speculate more and more about certain things, right? So the Jihad Princess stuff, that was very interesting to learn. And Dorsey's story, how she came to power, we haven't learned about that yet. We've only had the seed planted. And it probably is being watered off screen by SIU, but that's going to become important probably in the Jihad War, if she has some kind of important backstory or moment. There's so many things about season 1 that I just feel like people are not remembering. Go back and read it. if you can't read the whole Tower of God narrative before it comes back, I implore you to just, at the very least, read the first season, about 78 chapters. Just reread it. I promise you'll have a greater and deeper appreciation for that. I think the Crown game is fantastic. The Crown game was one of those moments where I learned, okay, so each floor is gonna have its own little test slash game gimmick, and the Crown game was fantastic to see everyone's like different combat on display and stuff. I liked it a lot. A knack. We learned about the 13th month series. You know, remember Bam has the Black Mark, she has the Green April, and she wants it. So it's like you just forget. These people just don't remember. The humor was amazing. It's very funny. Tower of God is super hilarious. I think it's obviously going to have kind of less and less comedy as things get more serious. That's just the nature of the beast of a long running series that's based on action. At some point, you have to kind of cut down on some of the comedic moments. For the most part, some authors are very good at not letting that die, but I'll always argue that the humor and comedy will always lessen as the stakes rise as you approach the end part, and you have to get a bit of a more focus on your main character because they kind of run the series and the world bends to their will. So the thing about the first season of Tower of God that's really good is that there isn't the over obsessance on Bam all the time. You're getting to see a lot of these characters get a lot of shine. This is actually true with a lot of the beginnings of season 2 with like Rand and whatnot, but I just remember being able to learn and see and have these characters interact because at that point Bam was still an irregular and he was still very gifted, but he was not strong yet, so it was kind of like everybody was kind of carrying him, so it was different in that sense. So getting to see like Anak being like, I thought you were pretty handsome, Shibisu, like ignite this, and the Black March like shocks him, you know, like there's, and Dorsey being by herself really lonely, and I think this part is actually really brilliant and one of the things I kind of miss about Bam, where it was like he understands what it means to be lonely, having been in that cave for so long. He can identify it easily. He's kind of the one who got her to start interacting more with other characters. Like, man, I don't know, man. Season 1 is amazing for that. Anak and Dorsey's little scuffle, that was hilarious. That was really good. And learning about a little bit about F.U.G and Han Sung-yu and whatnot, what was going on with them. And then the position test, and this is some of the moments I really like because this starts to show off how cunning Aguero really is, where he basically plotted on his own downfall to keep Bam in the game, and this shows how much he actually values him as a friend because he went really far so that Bam could continue to climb with them. That test was really cool to see everybody try their own thing, but I just love it. Ho's jealousy coming, you know, full circle at that point, and then it would be disingenuous to talk about part 1 and not mention Michelle Light, Lahel, aka Rachel. Now, I don't know how many of you guys may have seen this coming. I did not see it coming. I could tell she was getting a little bit jealous of seeing Bam kind of move on without her because at that point, and I would say from that, even way into season 2, he's only in that tower so he can get Rachel and go back to the cave, right? And she's like, listen, I ain't trying to be in that dinky ass cave, man. Stars out. So I feel it. But sorry. I laugh when I think about that. He's like, yo, come back to the cave. Like, no, bitch. Like, fuck the cave, man. We don't be in that shit. But Rachel, I mean, Bam is chasing Rachel, right? That's what he's there for. He just wants to know why she blah, blah, this and that and the other. So, the moment where she pushes him in the last examination is a moment that hit me the way I'm about to spell Death Note, I guess, if you haven't read or watched Death Note in 2019. But the way L. Lolliot's death hit me when I first read it way back in, I want to say 2008, because I thought I missed something. I'm like, oh, did I miss a chapter or a page or something? And I went back to the beginning of the chapter and reread it. And I was like, no, L's really dead. And I was like, yo, she really pushed him. And I could not understand why she did that at the time. And I was like, what? And understand that this if I read this today, it probably wouldn't have hit me the same because I could just read the epilogue in the next couple of chapters right off the bat. But this is when I had to wait. So I was like sitting with this in class throughout my day. I'm like, why did she do it? How come she pushed him? I don't understand. I was like emotionally distraught. I couldn't believe. And that's where the kind of hatred for Rachel builds up. But I think people also are not recalling that this is the moment where Rachel's character becomes probably one of the most polarizing, controversial characters I have personally seen been discussed across various series. That's the moment where it happens because she betrayed him. And people kind of forget that she's the one who taught Bam his morality and his ethics. It comes from her. She's the one that taught him everything he knows, and she's the one who betrayed those very teachings. I think that's why it hits a lot of people a lot harder. Some of y'all are just scumbags and are rooting for Rachel. Some of you guys are actually just like, you're just praising the brilliance of her character from a written standpoint, and that's fine. I totally agree with that. In hindsight, like in the long journey of my Tower of God climb, at this point, I'm indifferent about Rachel. I don't want to see her succeed. I don't like her, but I don't have a seething, irrational hatred for the character that a lot of people have, or that I used to have when I first began reading it. I just don't anymore. It's tiring. She keeps winning. It's just fruitless. Let's just let her do her thing. It is what it is. But that's when it happened. Season 1. And the epilogue was crazy because of him and F.U.G falling down, surviving, seeing her, that she was actually there, seeing him with the steel eel fish on the first floor. She didn't belong in the tower, what Haydon said, and they made a deal we still don't know about, mind you. This is where we learn about irregulars and stuff. It's just like, there's just so many things about the first season that are fantastic. I even think the artwork it gets better, a lot better towards the end. I like when Yuri pops up in the last examination, takes the Green April, fights with Ren a bit, RED, everything. Like, it's just seeing her travel there through the middle floors and stuff. There's just a lot of things there that I just want a lot of people to go back, reread, re-experience, and I think you will gain a deeper appreciation for this first season. I'm not telling you season 1 is better than season 2. I'm not telling you season 2 is better than season 1. I'm not telling you they're equal. I'm just saying don't disrespect the beginning. Disrespecting the beginning of a series is something I just do not understand at this point in my life. Because you can't have what you have in the latter halves. Character reveals, power reveals, this, that, whatever, without the foundation. You need a foundation to build something upon. So without that, you don't have it. So put respect on season 1. Reread it if you have not revisited it in a long time. It's about 78 chapters. It's not too long. If you have a chance, though, I would say reread that and the blog post, and then the rest of the series and the blog post, just for a refresher for when we come back later on in March. But with that being said, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. We'll probably have a discussion about season 1 with the Virgo and some other people when we get a chance to stream it. But I wanted to get my thoughts out there a little early, so thank you guys for listening, and I'm gonna be out. Yeah. Greetings, salutations. I do hope everybody's having themselves a mighty fine day. And let's talk about season 2 of Tower of God. I did a season 1 video talking about how incredible it is, because I believe that for whatever reason, when it comes to a lot of very long running series, I find that the fan base in general has a tendency to disrespect the beginning of the narrative. For example, a lot of One Piece fans will tell you like, oh, One Piece doesn't really get good until Alabasta. Completely shitting on East Blue, which is fantastic. When I got into Kingdom, people told me I have to wait until the Coalition arc until things pick up. I thought it was fantastic from chapter 1. A lot of JoJo fans do not respect Phantom Blood, and I think this is literally the foundational piece for everything else that will come on later, because Dio is the catalyst for so many things in later parts. So Tower of God, I feel, gets the same treatment, and that's the reason why I made the season 1 video. But it almost doesn't make sense to just have this random season 1 video and not follow it up. So here's me talking about what I think about season 2 and why I think it is a great follow up to the beginning of the story. So let's hop in and talk about everything. So I actually have been caught up to Tower of God since the last examination. So Tower of God may have been just about a little bit about maybe a year in or so and some change before I caught up, because that's about chapter 70, maybe 60. I think 50 something to 74 for last examination. So that's about when I caught up and I was reading it weekly. So when part 2 started, the Prince of Jihad, I was like, okay, let's get it. And I wasn't one of those people who didn't think Jovial Grace wasn't Bam. I knew immediately. I didn't need to be told that. I've seen a lot of people reading it. I've seen some people think it was Yuri and all kinds of crazy things. I don't know what was going on, but to me, it was obvious it was Bam. And whatever happened to him during, I believe, the 6 years since he got pushed by Rachel, he was just training, and he's been a little bit hardened by experiences, but you could still tell that the softness was in him. We got introduced to a bunch of new characters, Team Sweet and Sour. We got like Wagner and Arc Raptor and all those type of people, and I thought it was okay. We're getting to some of the good parts, and I was having a good time. It didn't really pick up to me until Mule Love, and Mule Love was you guys know how much I like Mule Love. You see him here. By the way, this will not be heavily edited, so you can kind of just listen and kick back. You don't have to be watching the video because I'm not going to be doing heavy editing. I just want to speak, and this is going to be very disorganized. I don't script anything. I just talk. I hit record and I start to ramble. That's how I roll. I think scripts are very unnatural. I think I sound robotic when I read. And a lot of times when I'm watching a video and people say these extremely long, eloquent sentences without even stumbling over their words once, it doesn't come across as like normal to me. So I actually don't like scripted videos, personally speaking. All being said, this is a complete side tangent. Expect a lot of those. When the Mule Love stuff happened, I was very impressed. I was starting to really get into it. I thought SIU kicked up the artwork a little bit. By the way, I think the artwork for the majority of season 2 is fantastic. I even like the beginning of it. I actually argue this a lot, and you don't have to agree with me, because I think things, when it comes to aesthetic, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think Tower of God has absolutely improved in artwork from start to finish, and it gets better and better and better. SIU and even some of his now assistants, they're doing a fantastic job. I do think it stopped looking visually distinct amongst Webtoons as he's gotten better. I think he's kind of made it more look like a contemporary webtoon, which is all beautiful, very nice. But I felt for a long time amongst a lot of the webtoons that I was reading, especially at the time, I know now Lion has blown up a lot more and there's a lot more webtoons just coming out and whatnot. I thought it looked unique artistically. I do not feel that way anymore. Not that it's bad, I just think that it looks more like the not average, but high standard, run-of-the-mill webtoon. But that's, again, another tangent. So with Mule Love's introduction and seeing Bam kind of flex everything he was learning, and for some reason I remember people thinking that Bam was ranker level already and ready to fight Mule Love. You have to understand that as an E rank regular, everything Bam was doing did not make any sense. No matter who you were, if you saw this, you'd be like, yo, what the hell is going on? He's using fast skip or reverse flow control, copying techniques, using multiple bags and doing things that you shouldn't be able to do on like floor 20. So you have to understand that Mule Love was thrown off by that. Obviously, he's not fighting all out. His power is restricted to some degree. On top of the fact that I always argue that the reason why all of these tests and whatnot end up being games where you don't have to win by straight up beating the ranker or the person you're stronger than is to give the weaker person a fighting chance. I'm reminded of in the Hidden Floor arc, where Dada Jihad says, okay, you can fight me straight up, or if you break these 3 spheres, you win, and I'll give you, the Fitbit type beat. That was to give Bam a handicap. So yes, if you can't beat me straight up, at least you could win the game by doing that. So I think that was lost to a lot of people, so Don't forget that. But Mule was actually not my favorite character immediately, but I loved his design so quickly, and I'm like, yo, he eat chicken? He likes spicy and seasoned chicken? Yeah, he's a goat. But my favorite character for the first time I read Tower of God, and probably the second time I read it, I've read it about 6 times in its entirety, I mean up until the latest chapter, was Ran. With the introduction of Ran, I started to really get interested in Tower of God. And by the way, Kun's reintroduction in that Boy Scout outfit, looking like, yo, I'm about to get the knot badge and put it on my satchel. That's one of the worst fits I've seen in Tower of God. He's so lucky there's some other bad ones, because for a time he had the record of having the worst outfit in Tower of God. I would say white. You remember after the Hidden Floor when he had that weird Christmas sweater on or whatever the hell it looked like when he was fighting with Beta and Dorsey a little bit? That fit is awful. There's some terrible fits, but that one is like one of the worst ones I've ever seen. So, but Kun came flexing his brain, got Dan to his team, and we were seeing who he was traveling with. And when he flexed that, yo, he knew Rachel was capping, she was lying, and was responsible for the death of his best friend. I was like, yo, this is why I mess with him. And it's so crazy how much of a pass Aguero gets to this day. Sorry, I usually call him Aguero. I know I said Kun, but I will be calling him Aguero from now on, because Kun is actually their last name. So I tend to always call him Aguero. So when you hear me say that, know I'm talking about, Bam's best friend. Aguero is very merciless in a lot of ways, cruel, cunning, sly, underhanded, but just because that he rocks with us, he gets a pass for a lot of things that I find that the fan base is very hypocritical once someone they don't like does something similar. Like Rachel. But hey, let me not even go there. So, Rachel stabbed up Dan's legs and went off to do her own thing, and she got the drop on Aguero a little bit, and I was like, damn, but it was like this nice push and pull. Like, these two hate each other, and I just love how it was going. Very, very good stuff. So Bam coming and flexing his new Viola coming and flexing his new strength and everything was a treat to see in the epilogue and stuff. And then when you got to see Yurik, in the Flower of Zangania, I know I'm butchering the pronunciation. Somebody is gonna say, "You stupid monkey." This is how you say it, but that was really dope. At the time, I do want to say this. I understand the scene where they clash and Bam is able to scratch Yurik, because that is to show a sign of his potential, and he's an irregular, and things to come later. I actually think that was very well done, well said and done. The problem is, with some of the things we've seen later, in hindsight, this scene doesn't hold weight because it looks really inconsistent with the power scaling. To the point where if he was this weak as an E rank regular, I don't care, he shouldn't have been able to scratch a wreck. Maybe SIU should have found a different way to show the potential, where it's like, yo, what happened to like the back of your hat or something, and like it's like burned or whatever. I'm not saying that I could come up with a better way to do it, but I do think that in hindsight that scene doesn't really hold up anymore. It looks very inconsistent with the power scaling later on. Something that I do think gets very wonky in the last station, and I'll get there when I get there. But his introduction was amazing, and at the time we may not have known exactly how powerful he was. It was really dope. So we go to like the workshop and everything later, and the workshop to me was one of my favorite arcs in general, just in fiction. I loved it, from learning about Emily and whatnot, and then the Devil of the Right Arm, the betting and everything. One shot, one opportunity, I thought was very fun. And the thing that gets really cool around these parts is, here is when they start to know and learn that, yo, the 25th Knight, might be alive. He might be around. So now, in Dorsey and people who knew about Bam, they're starting to think or know maybe he is alive. And then with like the hand of Arlene, they start to see him, and it's like, you have to remember that season 1 Bam, though he had incredible potential, and he showed that yes, later on he could be very powerful. He was a baby. He was a mere fledgling, frog in the well, and didn't know much. And now they're seeing him, and he's on par, if not a lot stronger than them. which is probably very jarring for a lot of them. But he's been in the hyperbolic time chamber, so to speak, or the rice pot. So let's use Tower God terms. The rice pot, so to speak, with Hajin Sung, F.U.G, getting his level up. So that was a pleasure to see. I think the gambling stuff was very dope. I love the fight with Iraq. What the hell? With Anak versus Ran. That's a classic. Incredible. Of course, the Axis, the most powerful character in Tower of God, Paracool, Revolution. He came out and got the W. Nothing we could do about that guy. He's just the strongest character we've ever seen. I can't even keep a straight face saying that, but that battle to me is a classic and will always be one of my favorites because I thought it was very well built up. We're talking about some of the strongest regulars. We know Anak is a W princess. Ran is a direct descendant, and I said Rak again. I meant Ran. Sorry, Kun Ran Naya. He has, in my opinion, Bam aside, probably the best display of combat variety of all the regulars. He's had so many dope fights, so many great moments, used so many techniques, Machini's lance and all kinds of Jian Sula related power in Shinsu, and I just think that he was absolutely a treat to follow. He's not one of my favorite characters anymore. Upon a bunch of rereads, a lot of characters that I didn't like before, I didn't appreciate, I got an appreciation for. One being Hua Ryun. Hua Ryun was a character I didn't like because she just kind of came across to me as like sneaky and underhanded, but understand that I was a lot younger when I was reading this too. So what happens when I get older is like my moral compass gets a little more questionable, if you will, and my ethics, they're not the same. So back then I thought maybe she was like evil, so to speak, but it became a point where I'm like, there really isn't any morality in the tower. You do what you do. Everyone is self-serving, and I respect her for this reason, if not this reason alone, aside from being absolutely beautiful and the best guide in the tower. I'm sorry, Evan, you're my guy, but Hua Ryun's a better guide than you as far as I'm concerned. We will talk about Red Witches versus Silver Dwarfs one day. However, she will tell Bam when he's being an asshole. Like, I appreciate that. I feel like even the fan base does this. They coddle and just praise Bam at every opportunity and don't really kind of criticize him or like tell him when he's being an ass. But if you recall, around the time of the Hell Train, when they were trying to get the tickets versus Yura, and he was just kind of sacrificing and betting and not caring about the people around him in this blind pursuit and trying to chase Rachel, she was like, you're acting like Rachel. She will tell him about himself, and I appreciate that because no fucking nobody else really does that. Something happens and they just, oh, Bam, you're so special and awesome, and they just call him and baby him and rock him in their arms, and I don't like that sometimes because I don't think he will learn that way. I even, like, quick tap to season 3, I even kind of appreciate how Doom spoke to him a little bit after, like, do you feel bad for this Godot guy dying? No, bro. He's not, kind of giving him that realness. Because I think he needs that. I mean, gradually he's getting in there. We've seen him grow, but my point is just that I do appreciate that she will just be like, no, like, this is not, what you're doing right now is kind of whack. That all being said, let's keep it moving. So, the workshop battle, absolutely fantastic. I would call it a saga, if anything. Like, how, so part 2 is part 2, like, season 2. I would say basically the beginning, so the Prince of Zahard is like a saga that has all the arcs in it from like, I'm not going to name them all, I cannot remember them all off the top of my head, but like F.U.G, the Wolves Knot, the Epilogue, the Praise, Untrustworthy Room, Last Chance. By the way, Antimatter Shinsu Bomb Raw, shout out to my Pokemon Master Wagner. Not really a huge fan of him, but I do think he's very important. I can't wait to see him do his thing later. So like, with the other part, which is the workshop battle, to me, that's essentially a saga as well from the literal workshop battle. The Devil of the Right Arm, Connection, Truth, Tournament, the Thorn, summoning, and all that stuff. Cannot forget about the Mad Dogs. Them being introduced was very important. On top of damn it. What was Karaka's kind of guy that was rolling with Bam with the mask on? Not Pokken, I don't think his name was. It's something I can't pronounce with the silver mask. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I will just kind of have it here in the edited here. But yeah, so all that was really cool. And everybody's like, I'm a B rank regular. I'm like, I think he was kind of capping. I don't know if I believe that, but again, there's just some weird power scaling stuff that happens every once in a while. But Bam got the Thorn and everything, and that was cool. And then we kind of kept it moving. This is when we kind of get to the Hell Train stuff, and the Hell Train to me was very, very, very interesting. I had a really fun time with it because now we get into Holquin, Holquin. I don't know how you guys pronounce it, but you know, eventually White, the wooden horse. One of my favorite parts being the dollar show kind of area. I really like the dollar show because Aguero absolutely bodies Rachel. Rachel to some degree gets the last laugh because she tries to get them. She leaves them to get melted by the boiling acid when Yuri comes and saves her. By the way, Yuri's reintroduction with Evan, fantastic. They have their like 3D goggles on, sitting down eating popcorn, doing their thing, trying to find out where Bam is and whatnot. And when she fights Pedro and his purple dementor that has the poison stuff, and she fucking gets in that Shoryuken. Oh, Yuri's so raw. Yuri to me is like the coolest character. She has such an awesome display. I love her. Amazing, fantastic. But yeah, he's like, yo, Rachel, you dumb, you ugly, you're trash at a lighthouse as a lighthouse bearer. You can't do this, you can't do that, and just start stunning on her. But because Bam is so nice and he wants to save everybody in the dollar show game from like dying, he put Kun in Aguero in a difficult situation, so he kind of had to play to that, and she tried to use that to his short advantage. But man, oh man, oh man, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot the first time I read it. I actually don't like it as much as upon rereads, but let me talk about something that is a popular criticism of Tower of God. To some degree, I have come to agree with this, with a little bit of a caveat. So bear with me for a second. Bam gets a lot of power-ups, and he gets them at some of the most convenient times, which people will call an aspel. I don't like the term aspel because it's a very lazy blanket term. When you say aspel or plot armor, what you are telling me is, in a nutshell, I think this character or this situation, the way that it was solved was very contrived. Maybe you threw in a Deus Ex Machina, whatever the case is. I didn't like it. Very contrived writing, very convenient writing. I would rather you straight up explain to me what you mean. I don't like blanket terms like that. This literally reminds me of IGN and game reviewers always being like, oh, this is the Dark Souls of... Okay, I understand we associate Dark Souls with difficulty, hard, but why is it challenging? Why is it difficult? Like, explain yourself. Use your goddamn words. So I don't like people who are lazy in that fact. Bam gets a lot of power-ups conveniently. And I agree with that. The thing that I liked about a lot of his power-ups for the most part, like, when he got stronger in Season 2, it was fine. He was training. Even a little bit before when he came to fight with Daniel and whatnot, I know he was going to dojos and learning, like, various martial arts that he was mixing in to, like, learn how to fight. When he gets a lot of these power-ups, I find that it comes with an important lesson or like a heavy burden, if you will. Like all of these souls come with like the sadness of being what happened, what White did to them and whatnot. Or when he got his kind of true self mode on the hidden floor, I felt like he had to do a lot of introspection and accept all of the monstrous parts of his power and use it for him to kind of come into his own. Like, it came with a lesson. And that's usually why I was like, you know what? I'll take it. And the reason why I don't heavily criticize it a lot for this, I do now because I think it's getting fucking ridiculous, but at the time was because I think this is very common for Webtoons. I find that Webtoons really, really are into the power fantasy, especially like Naver and line Webtoons. Common misconception, a webtoon isn't just a webcomic that you read online. Like, there's tons of different publishers, and if I go and I make a digital comic and post it online, it's a webtoon, it's a webcomic, a web graphic novel, a web series. So it's not just the ones that are from like Korea and whatnot. So don't fall into that trap. That's just not true. But Noblesse, Gosu, Girls of the Wilds, I would argue, An Ordinary with John, all these series, even Solo Leveling, which is not from Line, like, the MCs are just very broken in some facet. They may not know they're broken, they become broken, they were, holding back, subconsciously, some combination of multiple factors, but they always end up being extremely powerful. And even in, like I say, I always say in smut war or porn war, I call it, like the ones that are, raunchy. Love Parameter, Brawl and Go, Drug Candy, all those ones. Those characters are still broken too, which like a power, like a sexual power fantasy. They love that shit. So it's not lost on me that Tower of God is not unique in that fashion, but there's a lot of things with Bam they do that I think is kind of ridiculous, especially starting in the last station, which we'll get to. But yes, I think that's a fair criticism. I understand why it bothers you, but just think of the caveat that a lot of these came with a lesson or heavy burden. So he trained in the rice pot too and stuff. That was cool. Underwent Revolution. That was fantastic. And let's talk about my guy Karaka for a second. So anyone who's been here for a while knows that Karaka is my slayer. One of my favorite characters. I love his design. I love his power. Yo, infinite past lives, world of darkness. Come on, yo, that's my dude. I feel like they have kind of butchered his character starting in the last station. You know what? Maybe I'll wait till the last station to talk about that. But keep that in mind. I have some issues with that. So let's talk about the Name Hunt Station. I think the Name Hunt Station was an arc that I probably didn't appreciate really until maybe like my third read, because I didn't like Kaiser, to be honest. And at this point, you guys know that I'm a super Elaine stan, so it might sound funny coming from me now, but ooh, I thought that arc was a little rough. I thought Elaine was beautiful. Alfine was beautiful. I love the Lopabia, Zahard sister twins, Lalal and Shilial. I can't remember their name off the top of my head. When Hot said I would fight Destiny itself, yo! Hot is my dude, carrying my guy Young Sleep on his back, aka Fonseca Lore. I was having a blast, but I didn't really mess with like Kaiser. So basically, the main antagonist of this arc, I wasn't a fan of. I have obviously changed my opinion on that. I was but a mere young foolish lad when I first read it, but now I'm I guess a foolish old guy. but Elena's really dope. But Rand to me versus Iniesta is what stole the show, because one of my favorite moments in Tower of God is Rand recalling that fighting the IDA family is kind of a pain in the ass, because a lot of people try to find patterns in their sword swings, and you understand that their swordsmanship is just different. Do not try to dodge and evade it. You take that hit, you just brace yourself, you take it, and you just hit them niggas with something stronger. And I'm like, bro, yes sir, this is so fire. And Indiana's final and last words and fleeting moments before his death about Kaiser resonated with me so deeply, because then I could understand her more, because she understands how it felt to have that done to her based on how her family treated her, because she quote unquote failed the test to become a princess of Jihad. So that was really dope. And Dorsey was doing her thing. By the way, Dorsey got Bong Bong from the workshop. That was cool. And Bagarov, the Mad Dog. I think he got the Blood Tamara from the workshop. So a lot of cool things there happened. But the Name Hunt Station was cool, was dope, and I thought it started off with a bang, having us be like, yo, when Dorsey had lost her name type beat. And that kind of starts it with a bang. Hatsu and Kun having their little clash, even, because I don't think Kun really trains hard. Hatsu is, he studies the blade, so he was getting stronger and stronger, and I thought he had a good display against him. And yeah, so shout out to that. Name Station was cool. Wagner was doing his thing for a bit. Wagner kind of got thing killed. That was just kind of sad, but it is what it is. We kind of may have seen Arcaptor's daughter though with the earring, the red earring on the ear. That was really cool. But all this was in service of getting to the floor of death. I guess I didn't speak about this either, so I'll just go back real quick. I told you this would be disorganized. When he met Rachel again, this was a dope moment, full of tension and suspense. Reading it weekly was kind of crazy. When he got pushed again, I kind of threw my head up in the air like, come on, man. Come on, guy. What are you doing? Unforgivable. No one will let you get away. And honestly, I was not on Bam's side here, because it's like, what are you saying? Like, let's go back. Go back to that fucking dark, dingy cave? Are you good, bro? I'm not going back there. So, wasn't on his side for that. So, he was tripping. He was tripping big time. But it was an important moment. I think he learned from it. Because later on, we'll see in the Floor of Death, is the first time he actually says, I know, Rachel, we're enemies. He obviously, at that point, doesn't mean it in his heart, but he's trying to steel himself to get to that point in terms of his mental mindset. Like, all right, she's not who I really thought she was type beat. Floor of Death to me is awesome. For a lot of people who don't know, this arc was pretty divisive for a long time. I think the community at large now likes the Floor of Death, but there was a point where a lot of people weren't necessarily feeling it. One of the main reasons being that they thought Urek undercut the tension in this arc because he is a regular number 4 in the tower and he's mad powerful. And with him being here, there was no kind of investment. You already see my video here on the Urek on the Hidden Floor. I already spoke about it in depth, so I'm not going to go into that. But I love this arc. I thought it was awesome. I generally don't really like large exposition info dumps. But the one we got from Garam about Arlene and V and Jihad, I thought was immensely interesting. A lot of intrigue. And then I'm like, okay, like we're getting somewhere. We kind of learned that Anak was on this floor for a while. So maybe after, we don't know it's Evan for sure. It just looks like Evan in the silhouette in the flashback when she was, back in season 1 when Dorsey and her on the ground talking about it after they fell off the little shit. That was dope. I thought the Floor of Death. Hell Floor. Why do I say Hell Floor sometimes? Oh no, because they used to call it the Hell Floor in some translations. Floor of Death itself is interesting. The Administrator's Corpse, all the holes. Hell Joe, I think, is an underrated villain. I think Karaka is low key very funny. I remember when he pulled up and he's like, "You gave me a TV and all it has the news." And Karaka, big brain. He's like, "Hey, information is power. I love the news. Isn't the news the best? It's all you fucking need." Like, really funny. Gotta read this comic. Grand the Saw, Grand the Jaw, the Soul Stirring Ladle, the Soul Room, Gustang, a bug is a bug. Urek showing that even though he's extremely powerful, he still kind of cares about the little guy. All this stuff I thought was fantastic. White trying to get all the souls there and escape, but he couldn't. Spatial distortion. Come on, man. This arc was fantastic to me. Yeah? I think the most important takeaway to me, probably aside from Bam's with Arlene and V and stuff, was the ghost of the 13-month series. Jihad has kind of made a rigged game. You can't actually get the keys, so to speak, to kind of travel past and beyond the 130. Why am I speaking like that? The 134th floor. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit stuffy, so sorry if I sound, whatever. Yeah, that was important when Yuri got kind of taken over by it. And Garam tried to use the Bell of Dawn, and that didn't really work. On top of, Ben Bam was like, "Hey, yo, snap out of it," and she did. All that stuff was all well and good. Evan there was dope. The stuff with Urek being like, "I love you, take me in your arms," and she's like, "I'll forgive everything," and and then he pops up and he's like, "All right, I'll go handle it," and she's like, "God damn it, he was here the whole time." I love that. That was cool. Move on to New Power. Oh, by the way. Cannot forget this. You know what? Fuck it. Let's talk about it now because obviously going in order is not my thing. I just want to talk about everything. Bro, Karaka, after the name hunt station, ooh wee, when she pulled out Kranos and he's like, no, and Evan pulled out the fisher frog and everything, and they're trying to hide them via sound, everything with a little spatial barrier. Oh my goodness. But he said, nah, something's going on over there. And he was going to take the hit. He tried to guard himself with the steel tree. Didn't work. Sacrificed his arm. Then appeared over there to be like, "Hey, Juvie Grace, what's poppin', nigga?" Like, oh! And he pulled up on Yuri because Pedro got bodied. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean to me Karaka is the nicest guy and cares about his minions in that facet, but he obviously to some degree cares about the pride of having his minions taken over. Though I'd argue, having seen Death Lady speak to him and some of the interactions he's had, has them in his heart, a place that's very important to him. I do think that he has a lot of care for his subordinates to some degree. But let's talk about the Karaka conundrum now because we're here. I argue this, and you may not agree with this. I have a video on it. You can go talk. You can hear me speak about it. I might just make it its own video at some point, just so it's properly documented in a video, a concise video. But I argue that Karaka caring about Hajin's son makes sense. That's his martial arts teacher. But based on everything we had seen in the narrative up until the last station, there was no indication that aside from a respect standpoint, a power standpoint, and you used to teach me standpoint, that Karaka actually gave a fuck about this nigga. Why do I say that? Think about him saying, "I don't take my mask off to people I don't trust." every instance where Ha-Jin Sung says something like, "Hey, don't chase Bam, don't do this," he never listened. He completely went against his wishes. Pocket, yeah, follow him, this and that. He pulled up on Bam, was gonna body him, trying to revive White. All of these things went against Ha-Jin Sung's wishes. I would make the argument I don't think Bam really cared about him either, but I could tell Ha-Jin Sung obviously cared about Violet to some degree. Oh wow, I switched names, but you know what I'm talking about, Bam. But I would argue Bam doesn't want anything to do with F.U.G at all. I just want to get out of there, so, it's wonky. But on the last station, when the Caliban says he kills him, he's like, "Why kill my master? Oh my god." Then, now in season 3, he is doing the most to get him back, and to me, not consistent. I don't like it. I don't think it makes sense based on what we've seen. And then they inserted that one flashback with him giving him the armor. That's too late. I hate any story that tries to create a type of relationship or emotional investment right at the moment they need it. You need to have seedlings planted out the story, so I don't feel like it's just something you pulled from the crease of your butthole. For example, spoilers for Katekyo Shihime Reborn. Cover your ears for 30 seconds if you want to read that and you haven't seen this. But when that old man Talbot came talking about, "Oh yo, I have these rocks, just put your dying will flames in it, and now we got the Vongula gear." What the fuck was that? The Vongula gear broke. The Vongula rings broke. Now we're in a real dire situation because they don't have the highest grade of rings to actually emit their dying will flames. Then this old man just comes talking about, "Yo, I've been alive since from Vongula Primo or whatever the fuck here." Problem solved. Too late for me. I don't like that. And I feel like if F.U.G doesn't care that much about getting back Ha-Jin Sung, as pragmatic as Karaka is, I don't think he should be expending all these forces and time and energy to get him back either. But that's neither here nor there. I think that's an issue, but that's just me. You may think differently. Again, I'll go into it more in depth one day again. But do check out my stream on it if you haven't seen it yet. Let us go to the hidden floor. The hidden floor is probably the only part of Tower of God where I had stopped reading it for about 3 weeks, because I'm about to pull up another criticism that I have with this series that I call essentially fake deep lore, or fake world building, so to speak. You do not have to agree with this. This is one man's perspective. In these series with expansive worlds and all of these lore related things and all the stuff in it, I don't like when they tell me things if it's not actually going to be important to the narrative. I find that SIU expands on characters' backstories and motivations that don't matter. The last station, do you remember the guy in the wheelchair? And he's talking about, "Yeah, I tried to climb and it didn't work, and now I'm the conductor or whatever of the last station." I'm like, bro, who the fuck are you? Why are you getting all this screen time? You're not important. We'll never see you again. Why is he expanding on this guy in such detail? This is so fucking annoying. I don't give a rat's ass. He has this problem. He does it a lot. And I don't know why he does this. I don't know if it's because he just wants to have every character seem more fleshed out, but to me, it's just kind of a waste of time, because if it's not going to be integral later on, I don't see the point of bringing it up. If you are running a story and you create this fantasy world and it's called the Land of Besteria, right? And you're talking about how the world was made and created, that's all fine and dandy. You talk about, but in this place, in the dark corners where the dark elves lives, the Valley of the Shrouded, people who go there lose their souls, and you go so in depth on it, and we never fucking go there in the story. What was the goddamn point? You're just doing that to make the world seem bigger and more expansive and much more interesting, but I argue that's not good world building, because you just added that in there and it's not somewhere we're going. If we go there, it's fine and dandy. If we don't, what's the point? That's something I think you should put in the blog post. That's something you add like a data book or like ancillary information if you're in an interview or something. That's where you can expand upon the things that maybe you didn't really get to in your story. But in story, why? The essence of bravery is just a power-up. It makes him stronger. Why did we have this in-depth story about this warrior who was the pinnacle of martial arts, perfect equilibrium? He was brave and bro. Just take your fucking Chaos Emerald and power up. Why did you go into such? Is this person important? Am I gonna get a flashback of talking about the nigga who's in the essence of bravery? Like, what the hell are we doing? This is all a waste of time. I hate when he does this because Tower of God is already an extremely dense series with tons of information, and at this point I don't need any more information. It's not going to be vital moving forward, so I needed to stop doing this. Tangent over. Hidden floor. Didn't care about these data people at all, aside from seeing a younger Han Sung-yu and obviously Kunadwan and Data Jihad. Batis and Rose and all these people, bro, you're just cold to me. You're digital. I don't fucking give a damn. Can we just move on? So I stopped reading it for about, I feel like maybe 3 months, and then I came back after. Didn't even really care for that sworn enemy stuff either, but it is what it is. But this arc had tremendous payoff. I love when they're learning about Shinsu property conversion and their Shinsu nature and stuff, because it's so Shinsu quality, because it's so dope. Because I felt like at that point SLU was being somewhat consistent with his blog post saying that F.U.G wanted Bam not because of his talent, because he's an irregular, and that just gives them a pathways to things that no one else in the tower could do. But he's not necessarily the most talented. And we had instances where like Bam and Guerrero could not keep up with Dorsey without using Shinsu because of the power of blood she has. She's just physically more dominant than they are, naturally, right? On top of the fact that as talented as Bam is, Dorsey understood and learned her Shinsu quality way faster than everyone else did. So I'm like, this is dope. And he was learning about tension, something V was really good at. So call back to his father. All that stuff was really, really, really cool. Then, he kind of just started like breaking the mold and just becoming like all god tier, so to speak, if you will. But Hidden Flow was amazing. The fight with Dad Jihad was so incredible. Cosmos, him getting his true self mode, him just kind of growing in that battle was really dope, and Dad Jihad being very interested in him. And then obviously we get the point where the real Jihad pulls up. Yo, what's sent us? I couldn't believe it. He's like, yo, didn't I kill you before? And he ragdolls him, chokes him to almost to near death. And then he gets pulled out from it with his second thorn fragment, which is something space-time related, which is really dope. Wagner gets that sword to control fate, but he has to quote-unquote kill somebody. We saw Data erect, which is with his data corrupted. And this is probably when I really started to be like, yo, Rachel's agency in the story is incredible. Found the big breeder. Icarus came in, blew up Kun's heart. Oh my god. That shit was fantastic. And I love Machete. So seeing Data Machete 2 with Icardi, with Asensio, man, trying to take out Dad Jihad, all that stuff was dope to me. I think it was really cool, really fun, and I had a good time with that arc in the grand scheme. Even though at the beginning I may not have been particularly that interested. And then to add to, and there's still a way to pull it off. The 3 orders? Oh, that shit had me tweaking, boy. I said, yo, the Power Dow Fat? What the hell? No, he came with the treasure stealing Stingray. He got the Fitbit. I couldn't believe it. Like, there was so much intrigue. But I have to be honest with you guys. The last stage, well, the Cage is really my least favorite arc right now because of, like Dang and all. I didn't care about that. Like, for me, if Baylord Yama wasn't as cool as he was, I might have had way more trouble getting to the beginning of part 3, but I take big issue with the last station. I think the last station is very messy. I think the power scaling's all over the place. I think at that point, Caliban was very hard to get a grasp on. He was very all over the place. He was talking about Hajin Song versus Caliban was going to be like a classic. I don't think it's a classic. I think Anak versus Ran is. Again, though, apparently he meant classic in terms of martial arts. I heard somebody on Reddit. I said heard on Reddit, and no one was speaking on Reddit. They were typing. What's good with me? Someone on Reddit typed out it had more to do with the fact it was more hand to hand, so like a martial arts fight. So if that's the case, then I'm fine with it. But so Bam, One thing I didn't like about Tower God for a long time that I felt that SIU has started to rectify in season 3 is Shinsu is such an interesting power system, and he didn't do like what Kubo did with Bankai's or Zanpakuto's Toes by limiting it to just 2 forms, where he made Shinsu integral to the world itself for breathing and living and creating light in the sky and stuff, but also integral to battle, but it's limitless in its potential. To the point where some people can use it, I said for some people, and Ryu can use it to create life. And all I see these niggas do is use fucking beams. Purple beam, black beam, electricity beam, fire beam. And I'm like, dog, where are the techniques at? Come on. So when my guy, I thought he was fun, Charlie pulled up, and Charlie hit him with white noise to discombobulate him and take away his senses. I'm like, we're getting somewhere, and Yuri kind of just throws him the Black March, and the Black March gives him the arbitrary power up. The SIU said in the blog post, if they got hit with that shit, they would have died in one hit. And I'm like, what are we doing, man? All these external things to help him not die right there, I thought was so contrived and doing the most. I thought him cracking Caliban again, I didn't really like it. I didn't care because Caliban didn't really dodge it, and it was nice for someone to just call Bam really weak. But for a high ranker of his caliber to be the first person to say that, it doesn't hold as much weight to me. But that being said, I love the princesses in this arc. I say princesses, I didn't really care for Bong Bong, the fucking Uber merchant, just teleporting everybody everywhere. Hey, lift delivery, Bong Bonging away. But Yuri against Shanhee Ha and her turning herself in, her pulling up with Karaka with the green April and everything and making them bow to her also was fantastic. I loved it. And Masheni, I'm sorry guys, I'm a fan of underhandedness, especially in series like this. Like in a series like One Piece, I need more sneakiness, but we know how the Kun family is, so Masheni kind of setting up Hajin-san to come to the last station. By the way, their conversation on his floor. First of all, dude, I saw you buy a lay for 10 billion points. This is your fucking house? Nigga. I need you to do better, my guy. Them having a conversation about him saying, over time his rage has dissipated. That was all a really, really dope conversation. I love it. I think it's very consistent. It makes sense to me. I think it was very organic. God damn, bro. I'm sorry, guys. It was very organic, but yeah, she kind of set him up in his fight with Caliban, the Tiger Dragon Gate. That was dope, and she came with the sneak from the back and stabbed him. Woo! I loved it. And testament to how strong he is. He is different among the Ha family. Talking about we're technicians, not just these fucking Shinsu sandbags with high Shinsu resistance. That was amazing. And then I loved even seeing a little bit of past Yuri, a little bit of Ha Yurin. That was all dope. So the princesses to me stole the arc a bit. Complete White coming out was cool. Seeing Karaka kind of body some rankers were cool, but then White having the little mana problem, that was a little annoying. But hyping the fuck out of Levi, or Levi, however you want to pronounce his name, with his Korean Riddler Scantron gimmick. Hey yo, yeah, what's your name? You take too long, you choke and you die, just for him to get hit by Bam. Oh, my spell didn't work, and then lose to Rack's rock throw. He's whack. So much build up for no reason. Shout out to Water Jelly. I don't know if you guys were around when we were doing the streams, but shout out to Water Jelly. We had a lot of fun jokes about him. The two others, the guy with the penis head with the power pole, that was funny. Man, we had some good times there. And Simi's constant Gustang is coming gimmick. When Gustang pulled up though with his Gustang with his people, they look dangerous. When that one guy said he's the greatest, he's omniscient, the most, whatever, power dog Gustang. We're here for what we're here for. Don't care about what Jihad has to say. That was dope. I like Dorian Frog, by the way. Drac, I call him Lord Sleep or King Sleep. He was dope. Shout out to Deathbird with the clutchness, actually saving some of our people with by bringing the lighthouse over. That was really good. But I do think New Wave, the very ending, was really good, and that was a great build up to hype up the part 3 and everything of the sort. I know I didn't touch and talk about everything. but this is getting very lengthy. I didn't actually want it to be this long, and I'm rambling. But season two, as a whole, to me, in a literally overall, was very good. I liked it a lot. I think it was a great follow up to season one. The last station aside, which is probably one of my least favorite parts of Tower of God in general, I do think that it was really really good. So stay tuned for when I'm going to talk about season three thus far up until chapter 67. While SLU's on hiatus, but a lot of potential in that season that I see. But yes, Helchin was dope. White was dope. Lurks Up Battle. Rachel's involvement was cool. I mean, let me talk about their final conversation with Rachel after she blew up Clint's heart real quick because that was important. I thought Bam doing what he did was kind of cool, but I do think Rachel got the last laugh because she basically held information that he wanted over her head and kind of escaped with Yura. Rack, you had one fucking job. Stop Yura from doing her thing. Yura got away. White was in a terrible ass sweater. Seeing Hua Ryu and Dorsey in the hot tub. Yummy! That was dope. Anyways, you guys tell me what you think about season 2. I'm sorry for rambling so long. I know this was incredibly disorganized. Forgive me, but it is what it is. Like and subscribe. If you are a fan of the content, please subscribe and share with your friends. Hit the bell of dawn, and I'm gonna be out. Slayer, Karaka, I need you to come back, my guy. I need my Slayer back. I just wanted to say a couple of things before I start real quick. A couple of things. All the intros and outros, link to my Discord, my Twitter, and everything, Twitch and stuff is in the description. So sometimes if you hear an opening you like or something, just look in the description. If you don't see it in the description or a link is broken or something, then ask me. Please read the description. I usually put everything you need in there. Secondly, listen, Tower of God is my favorite webtoon. So don't ever get it twisted. I love this shit. I am extremely hard on the things I like the most. I'm going to be pretty critical of the third season. I don't hate it. I think it's good. I think it can be great. But if you're a person who can't handle criticism, or you just don't like hearing an opposing opinion to yours about something you like, just don't come here. I'm not here for all of that energy right now. I have no problem if you disagree with my takes, but some of y'all come at me mad disrespectful, and you would not talk to me like this in real life because I would slap the shit out you. So with all that out the way, let's hop right in. If you're new here, like, subscribe, and hit the bell of dawn so that the ghost of the 13-month series doesn't get you. And let's hop right into this discussion. So when I first read season 3, I was having a rough time with the beginning, especially the beginning. And if it wasn't for Baylor Yama, I don't know if I could have gotten through it as seamlessly as I did, because I think he's a fantastic character. There are some things we're going to talk about in terms of his backstory with Immort and how we've changed some of the Bay Road stuff. I don't mind it, though I do think that what he had kind of given us in the blog post seemed to be far more interesting, but it is what it is. I'm not going to complain about it because I still do like the stories of the three brothers and Paul, Doom, and Yama. Real quick, this is the third video in which I'm speaking about the totality of Tower of God season. So if you want to see the other two, I'll have like a card popping up here for the first season and then the second season, so you can see how I felt about those two. And then I do have a Baylor Yama video I'm extremely proud of, so definitely check that out if you haven't yet, and let's talk about it. First, let's talk about Bam. Bam's reintroduction has been really cool because with each season, he kind of has a different demeanor with the way things start off. His kind of edgy teen phase, jovial grace, sadness pack, despair pack. I'm just by myself, solo dolo type beat. That was cool. And then here you can see he's taking some steps in terms of leadership, power, and like making the decisions that he wouldn't have made beforehand because he's a little soft about it. We even see this kind of play off when he decides not to look away at all the dead bodies. Regardless of whether or not he's the one who killed them, he knows that him going to save his master is the reason why all of these people are dead. And he decided not to look away and to own up to what he does. All that stuff was really cool. Seeing his growth from a power standpoint was really good. You know, that post time skip training flex that you see a lot in these type battle series. That was all fine and dandy and really cool. So it was good to see him, but I do think we have some problems with Bam later from this standpoint. And not as, I don't know if it's a problem, more so that I think it's just the weirdest decision I've seen in a lot of ways. But we'll get there in a moment. Aguero wakes up, and actually, so it's weird to say that I think that the way that Aguero wakes up is kind of not it, but because I had not seen him in real life time, in real time IRL for so long, I just wanted to see him up and about. But I did enjoy seeing Levy go crazy with power after being oppressed with for so long, and then Little Woon hitting the crocodile tears to like Levy to give him the hammer, and then they free Woonia and stuff. And just seeing Shabisu and Hudson again was cool. So in that aspect, it didn't bother me. But I actually do not think that was particularly well handled. I don't know how you guys feel about it. You let me know. But it didn't bother me. So this is not me necessarily critiquing that part. So we go to the cage now and everything. And listen, fuck all these dog niggas. There's a couple I like. The Baylor trio. I like Jordan and give or take a couple of them. Kanzon, not the daughter, not Kanzon. Kan Hong, sorry, what her name was. Like, but I don't know. I'm good on these canine people. I like the translation Houndborns better, so I call them Houndborns. So if you hear me say that, that's what I mean. I mean canine people. But yeah, like this whole stealing the Fang stuff and the things with Dang Dang and everything, it didn't hit for me. It really didn't. I don't think Dang Dang's an interesting character. I don't particularly care like that for Louis Vuitton, but Louis Vuitton at least looks kind of cool. He got drip. Don't mind him. Seeing that that one girl who's just trying to like do her work, that was fun. But like we're seeing Bam do a couple things here, like kind of murdering some of these combat dogs, which I think we don't really see from him, or at least do it that mercilessly. But it's like you're seeing that he's taking some steps in that aspect, and maybe a little bit of a Van Kel's demeanor has rubbed off on him because he had gone from battlefield to battlefield, having to clear them out, and then after the fact he would learn something from a Van Kel on the same level of the battlefield he had just conquered. And we had seen him with the one ranker from the Ha family who decided not to be a ranker, who taught him that like zero technique, in which Karaka and him used later on against Yama to wake him up. We even see Bam kind of flex and buff when in the face of Yama, trying to say that like, you know, I'll fight you if you don't, like if you don't bend to my demands or like my stipulations for this agreement, then like I'll take you out myself. And it's like, first of all, yeah, alright, good luck with that. Yama's a monster. He's a demon, first of all. Go. But you could just see a lot of the things that you might have not seen from him beforehand. Not that he wouldn't stand up for the right thing. It's just kind of the way he goes about it. So this is me trying to establish that I don't think that Bam's character is necessarily poorly written. I never really thought it was, to be honest, especially since like his fight with Dana Jihad and seeing him accept all the monstrous powers within him, and then he hit his true self mode. That's all good and dandy. Now, Rack has been a bit of disappointment. Rack has been up and about for 2 years while Kun has been incapacitated, and it seems like Kun is already as good, if not better than him, while he was out and about. And then we see that waking him up kind of irresponsibly with Woon Yeon's flare has caused him to kind of adopt the flame. So initially I thought that this was going to be a way to give Kun more Shinsu qualities, because his dad was known for having multiple by the time he was already on the hidden floor. So I was thinking, if Aguero is trying to become the head of his family, maybe one of the things he's going to do in the footsteps of his own father was have multiple Shinsu qualities. But that didn't turn out to be the case. I'm going to kind of skip a couple of things here and talk about the fish, because the flare fish, whatever you want to call it, because listen, man, this Phoenix Down revival power up gimmick, I have an issue with it. But it's the same time, there was a couple applications of it that I thought was very well done, but resurrection is not it. The fact that he was quote unquote dead and it brought him back to life, and he had used it on possibly one of the rankers, or I think advanced rankers from Yama's like army. I don't like the idea that he can bring people back to life. the fact that they could power people up and stuff is fine, or maybe heal, totally okay with it. And I don't think the drawback is necessarily fair. It's saying that it could consume him and give him a fever and he's hot. Okay, that's nice and dandy, but I want you to think about the fact that he got this new power and how far he pushed it without fully understanding it or really training it before there was any drawbacks. He did a lot with that ability before we even got a hint of okay, it's kind of dangerous though. So I'm hoping that SIU will maybe make the drawbacks a little more prominent. And if not, well, it is what it is. But when he used it to power up one of the rankers from Doom's side or Doom's faction, maybe it was Paul, but you know what I'm talking about, the people who were trying to wake up Doom up, to power him up and then take it away because, oh my god, he was so used to being juiced up on that power. That was an incredible use of that ability. So if Aguero's going to be applying it in ways like that, I don't have any issue, because if he's going to be like the white mage or support of the party and he does things like this, I'm fine with it. And he's very cerebral, and this is things that I want to see from him. I want to see him be big brain Chabis. Well, we have big brain Chabis, but big brain Aguero. So that's cool. So that's kind of my take on that. Seeing Michael and Apple come through. Paul just makes me laugh because his name is Paul. You have Yama and Doom, and it's like, Paul's probably a last name in Korean, I guess, but it just makes me laugh. But yeah. K9 Tooth Festival, stealing the fan, coup for Yama. And I do think it's hilarious that this entire coup is predicated on the fact that they're like, Yama won't wake up. Like, yeah, you gonna sleep through this. And when he wakes up, it'll be too late. It's like, this was y'all fucking plan? I hope this nigga stays asleep. I don't know, man. It's funny to me, though. I'm not mad at it. But it's just kind of funny, like, the fact that he just woke up through a monkey wrench in their entire operation. Well, let's keep it moving. I found that Yama was very impressive from his first showing against Karaka and Bam, when Bam kind of went off the rails, because Yama was just kind of playing possum or playing dumb, if you will. Like, he knew exactly why they were there and what they wanted, and once they offered him the thing he needed with Dang Dang, he was cool with it. But he was testing them to see how they would approach him and how they would ask for his help type beat to go and save Hajin Sung. And we have some moments here with Karaka that I like, that they're showing that he's starting to kind of trust Bam a bit more. Don't particularly care for that, but seeing how Death Lady reacts to it was funny. Like, I like how Karaka's faction and stuff act, and Karaka is kind of funny, man. The news, baby. He's all he watches the news, but I don't agree with the decision to make him want to go so hard to save Hajin Sung. I still don't agree with it. It's fine if you disagree with me. I'm not gonna get into this again. I literally have an entire 40-minute stream where I spoke about why I feel the way I feel about this. So if you want to know my opinions on that, go to that video. I'm not gonna get into this, but this is not particularly my Slayer Karaka, but that's life, man. That's life. So Doom wakes up, and he was used to be top 20 beforehand. I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't think he's that strong from what I've seen. But we can obviously use the built-in excuse that he's been incapacitated and sealed away for so many years. Plus, he doesn't have his Fang, so we haven't got to see him at full power yet. So there is that. That's not lost on me, but the story with the three brothers was cool. Actually, don't hate it, especially later on when we learn about Doom and Yama and Paul's father in relation to the Lobobia family. But I think in just pure concept, the story of him escaping from Bay Road through Amort's help and coming back to Bay Road to kind of rule over it and stuff like that seemed to me to be a far more interesting story, especially with the fact that it ties in more to F.U.G shenanigans. But the reason why I've never really harped on the fact we never got that stuff is because I actually still think this story of the brother trio is interesting, with Doom being all about himself and having people do the work for him with his ability to create and control K9 people, and Yama kind of doing his own way by he having that very lone wolf strength and constantly training himself and not relying on external help. But he actually cares for the K9 people. whereas Doom doesn't. And then Paul is the little brother trying to keep up with his older brothers. To the fact that the first time he tried to use K9 transformation, he went berserk. So I do think that they have an interesting dynamic and all that. So that's not lost on me. So don't think that I'm complaining about it. It's just, this is just me low-key wanting to learn about it more, man. I'm trying to learn more about F.U.G. What you want from me, man? What you want from me? So it is what it is. A Van Kale pops up with Hansung Yu. I love this duo. They're fantastic. And around the time that they show up, so does Kel Helm. And so woo! Shout out to the Red Witch faction, Red Witch Nation. We always repping the Red Witches. Kel Helm to me is such an issue because, and it's so hard to explain it because I like him. I love his abilities, I love his design, and I think SIU was smart to introduce the concept of a blue hole. Basically, these rankers and strong people who have been out of the spotlight for so long, we don't even really know how to rank them. They're like an unknown tier of strength. So even though we have all these rankings officially based off power, recognition, and influence, we now have a tier of people in the tower who could be all kinds of technical ranks, but we have no idea how strong they really are because of them kind of just not being in the spotlight. That's smart. That adds another unknown tier of strength to the entire tower. So I think that was a good decision. But it's just the way he was talking and acting and fate and destiny and blah blah blah. And as soon as the littlest thing happened, he like, I'm useless. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I was tricked. And I'm like, bro, what is good with you? Like, I felt Yama being like, yo, you not come to my cage, do all this, get all these people killed, and you're not gonna do nothing. Like, you gotta do something to help me. I'm trying hard not to have to fuck you up right now. I'm like, yo, Yama, I feel that. Yama's such a real dude. I love him because he's got that teddy bear side to him where it's like he cares about his people and he's gonna do what he has to do, to the point where, like, it's so funny that he had Mule, not Mule Love, to go. Mule scared for his life, even though Mule had the leverage in his position with the bomb and stuff. Like, his ability to use, manipulate, and master fear is so incredible, to the point that it is built into him to what I call a passive Shinsu ability. If you are scared of Yama in any capacity, your Shinsu will not hurt him. You cannot damage him. That's incredible. He's a master of fear, of the concept of fear, and I love it. I love how scary they make him in so many panels. The eyes, the teeth, everything. Like, Yama is a scary dude, especially when he's upset. No, I love it. To the point where Doom was scared of him when he's seen his full K9 transformation, and Paul's always pissing his pants. You always pissing your pants, Paul. Come on, dog. He wakes up, he comes down. We see Bam beat a ranker here, and I felt like this was a point where he was gonna cut the bullshit with, is he ranker level or not? Like, come on. We know he's been beyond ranker level for quite some time, especially post training. And Doom also tries to turn him into a K9 person, a Houndborn, and this leads to him getting a new subset of abilities that makes sense within the context of what's happening, because Bam is 25th Kirby, right? He's a copycat, right? So he copies everything he sees, and he could suck up, swallow, and consume everything. So now that he's consumed that, he has stability of transformation. So him using the Red Theresa and the blue shield and the arrow and stuff is a part of his manifestation ability, and the fact that Doom has somewhat awakened his ability to transform things. But it's not, I call it a regular transformation instead of Houndborn transformation. But here is what I think is a really weird thing SIU has done here. So bear with me. I guess if you're not caught up to One Piece or you care, plug your ears for like a minute or two. But Luffy trained for 2 years with Rayleigh, and a lot of times when he hits a wall in the fight, he starts to flash back to things he's learned and heard or seen from his master, from Rayleigh. To the point he's calling upon his training in order to kind of take the next step. This bothers a lot of people, but I do think it's fine in the sense that at the very least, the 2 years of training that he took is vital. Even for the things he didn't quite necessarily learn yet, he could call upon the things that he learned from Rayleigh and the basics of hockey and then apply it to his current situation. So observation hockey to use future sight. And then Ryoyu and Hockey and Wano to take the next step in armored hockey. I think it would have been fine if somehow, some way, Bam had learned to tap into this power while training with Han Sung-yu and Van Kel and all the battlefields he went to. I think it's an extremely weird decision to make him so much more powerful, make him fight and learn all these things during a training arc that he had off screen, but then have him pull out new things from the crease of his ass cheeks. That is really where my problem comes. I have two caveats with this, two like issues with this, where it's like, this is for me not entertaining. I don't feel like Bam is earning his way up the tower. I like to see my characters personally. This is me just being personal. I like to see my characters earn their victories and these power-ups through ingenuity, blood, sweat, and tears, intellect, things along those lines. I love how Aguero gets the Lopobia branch leader out the paint because of using a Van Kel and the teleporter and the bullet to teleport it into the Windbird's core. This is using his intellect, something he's known for, to make him help out a situation that was dire. It wasn't contrived, it wasn't nonsensical, it made sense. And it's perfectly in line with Aguero's character. These are the types of things that I want to see. In the hidden floor, when he's fighting against Dada Jihad, it's him learning to accept that maybe he is a monster and it is what it is, but he will be himself and accept all the parts of him, which allowed him to tap into a new level of strength. It came with a lesson. Him being like, oh, what's the shield? I don't even know what the fuck I just did. Whatever. And blocking some attacks from Caliban just seems like an extremely weird decision to make. I just don't understand it. And from my standpoint, I don't think this is enjoyable for a lot of people. If you guys don't mind that, you don't mind it, I can't speak on it. But do you really think that this is an enjoyable and a well-earned way to see Bam go up the tower, gain strength, and get himself out of these situations where his back's against the wall? I just don't find it interesting. I would like to see him actually be in real, true peril and have to win through a means that's not contrived or extremely convenient. But I will leave it at that. I'm not going to go too much into detail about that. Now, back to Kel Helm a little bit. Kel Helm versus Yama and the Van Kel, I suppose, was really, really cool. The path stuff that they trapped Van Kel and shit, that is, I meant Van Kel and Yama versus Doom and his Bison, yip, or Bull. But when they were trapped, Han Sung-yu and Van Kel in the path thing and learning about the different the different types of like flame Shinsu, the Yeon family flare, and things that could actually burn Shinsu and heal and stuff. That was cool. I like that. And I liked how they put their mind and powers together to kind of get out the situation, because this ties back into their flashback and upbringing, where it's like Han Sung-yu has the ingenuity, creativity, and mind, and he's gifted in his brain to be able to do a lot of the things, but without a Van Kel's help, he can't really inspire real change in the tower because he's not that powerful from that standpoint. Because I think that infinite Shinsu loop that he kind of taught Bam was very interesting. I would like to see how it's going to be applied in some other fights, because even Caliban comments on it too. And since I brought up Caliban, let's talk about my guy. This is the season where I started to truly take a liking to Caliban. I didn't know how to feel about him beforehand, except that he looks cool, I think. I like the essence of bravery, which I have recently learned was supposed to be called the essence of nothingness. Someone had told me the translation was supposed to be called the essence of combat or fighting, but apparently it's the essence of nothingness, which I think makes so much more sense and ties into his actual character and character arc and motivations way more than the essence of bravery. But shout out to Haku of the Tubes. Definitely peep his video right here where he talks about like Shinwan Ryu mistranslations and the essence of bravery mistranslations. But the reason why this kind of ties into his character is because of the person in the crystal now. But you know how I always make fun of that backstory where I'm like, why do we get this very elaborate, long, unnecessary backstory for the fact that this nigga Calivan just took a Master Emerald and got a power up? Like, I didn't need all these things, if the person who turned himself into the Chaos Emerald, if you will, the crystal, is not important. But with the essence of nothingness translation, do you know why that person actually becomes a lot more significant? He went from battlefield to battlefield doing what he wanted, what he was doing by winning fights and causing all of these things for whatever ambition that person had. And it resulted in futility to the point where he just sealed himself away. And this arc here is you're seeing Calivan devote himself to a cause, to a person, to a belief that is going to end in futility. He's not going to beat Bam. He's not going to overcome his irregular strength. As a matter of fact, the very thing he believed in, the core, has in some ways betrayed him by blowing up the people he cares about. And now he's struggling with balancing his duty as a soldier with how he just feels as a person. Could this all end in futility? We will find out in a couple of, whenever when SIU comes back. So that is that. But I think he's been excellent this arc. First of all, the fact that he didn't get fired or whatever executed because of Dory takes a liking to him, so we got demoted to a common soldier, and now you have a common foot soldier with the strength of an entire army just walking around doing regular things. Incredible. I actually like the beret. I like the outfit. I like the way his hand is sealed. He looks a lot more muscular this season, and he just looks kind of tired or fed up. He has this kind of wandering vagabond look that I can truly appreciate. So when it comes to the wall of peaceful coexistence and stuff, and I guess we should talk about that real quick, the wall of peaceful coexistence with people who were in the age of Genesis, who were sealed away in there. So some Hidden Grove, some of the regulars, or not regulars, some of the people from Jihad's army and stuff like that. Like, that was all good in the end. That was cool. To me, when Yama gets teleported there, when he runs into Yas Ratcha, kind of an enemy of his family, which we learn later on, and the fact that he can use days to control the K9 people because of what the Lopobia blood is and does, and because that the K9 people or the Houndborns, if you will, were kind of created by them and whatnot, and can be controlled by them because they're supposed to be kind of subservient to the family. That was all really interesting stuff. I really liked it because I think that this season truly hits its stride the moment Yas Ratcha pulls away, he pulls out. Yama's hurt. I like how Jordan comes like, yo, Yama didn't. No one hurt Yama. Someone must use a cheap trick. He's like, you'll get you a hype man like Jordan. By the way, Jordan was cool because I like that ability that doesn't miss people. That was really good. And also in the part of the cage earlier, we got to see some more of the IDA swordsmanship where it's like you think you blocked or evaded that, but you got cut. And just seeing White's maniacal nature come out, because I need White to stop following Bam around, do his own thing, and start sucking up souls, baby. Yummy! I need to suck up them muy bien, them souls. Them souls. I need him to. I need that from him, man. I need it. As far as I'm concerned, White, in terms of what we truly know, has possibly still committed one of the most heinous acts in the tower. He's evil. So, and I like him that way. So I need him to kind of continue to do that. I want to backtrack for a quick second with Karaka and Bam and his henchman Karaka. Karaka, this season has been a little bit weird for me because he does a lot of things that are cerebral and interesting in his Karaka way, but I just don't feel that he should be going this hard for Hajin Sung, especially if F.U.G doesn't seem to care that much. And I think that thing with that moment of Hajin Sung giving him the armor and stuff, I think that's something that we should have known beforehand. I think it was too late when we saw it, but again, I spoke about it. I spoke about that. There's a moment where they both use like an airwave technique together, which seems like a really cool moment, and it is a cool moment. But I think the build up to that scene where they both wake up Yama together would have been so much better if you had built in proper motivation for both these characters to really and truly want Hajin Sung to be freed. I would always argue that on the Hajin Sung side, he really did care about Bam, but Bam never necessarily did anything in my view that showed to me that he particularly cared about Hajin Sung to that degree. Though I could believe it in Bam's right just because of how he treated him and how Bam is not necessarily a dickhead like Karaka could be. Karaka had expressly not listened to any of Hajin Sung's wishes and told him, I don't trust you. So you know I'm not taking my mask off for you to eat. I'm here chilling. You come and mess up my palace and come fuck up my henchmen. Like, bro, what's good with you? So, that too. I did want to backtrack again just a little bit to talk about this one part. Dang Dang's death meant nothing to me. The Louis Dang Dang Godot thing meant nothing to me. I felt absolutely not a goddamn thing. I don't care about any of them. I thought it was weird to bring back Chang and Quattro just so they can fucking get bodied by Tall, Venti, Grande, the Starbucks trio. Like, okay, I guess. We did start seeing some abilities in this arc that gave me a lot of hope. Like the ceiling little weird green forest thing that we saw. I think Jordan used against one of the rankers when Bam was helping him fight. The Shinsu ability that I said about passive ability that Yama has was cool. Kel Helm's ability to kind of teleport people and then use like massive teleportation in conjunction with Soo's ability, creating the like the little cage they put Evankel and Hansung Yu is. Because I always said like I was tired of seeing beams all the time in Tower of God when Shinsu is just has limitless potential because of how it's been implemented into the story. I think we needed to see things other than fucking beams all the time. So that was a treat. I appreciate that. Doan is awful. I actually don't really like anyone from Hidden Grove as of right now. I think Doan was awful. I didn't really care for Kane. But that arc was just interesting in terms of seeing some of the techniques like the lead and stuff had and everything. And it was cool to see Rack, Bam, and Aguero, the trio, up against a ranker, a pretty decent one at that too. That was good. Seems like SIU was somewhat arbitrarily powered them up to be able to do that. I would argue that Aguero and Rack are probably not just much closer to the level of a ranker than we're giving them credit for. I don't think it necessarily makes sense, but it's fine. These things happen in these kind of stories because you don't want them to fall too far behind, I guess. So it is what it is. Now, the wall of peaceful coexistence, a wall with a sleeping forget-me-not. The forget-me-not ability and stuff is cool. I feel like she could do memory manipulation. I do think these people coming out of the age of Genesis, like coming back with Cha and stuff, this is going to be vital moving forward. Not a fan of Cha yet, just because he immediately was subservient to Bam. I'm sorry, that just bothered me. I'm like, why are you on your knees already? Calm that down. But Doan needs to get her shit together because, as far as I'm concerned, this is the character I can't stand the most. So hopefully her and Cha can have a talk or something and she just picks a side and picks a viewpoint or picks an ideal, whatever. Like, make your mind up. It's like, oh, my sister is back and wake me up, and like you just left her. Like I don't know. Just so many decisions about her is really weird to me. But I like her aesthetic though. Like the flowers and petals everywhere. It's actually quite beautiful in my opinion. Calivan in the war. Let's get to the part where I was talking about now, where I think this season gets really good. I'm obviously going to forget a lot of things here, and I apologize for being as disorganized as I am. I'm not a person who likes to really, I don't script things. At most, I'll have bullet points for anyone who's new here. So, sorry. But for me, when SIU has the chapter where Bam beats that ranker and just cuts the bullshit, I'm like, okay, here we go. And then he stopped cutting the bullshit, had him against Charlie. That was all really cool. I actually like Charlie, by the way. I think he, the white noise ability he had was a nice touch to see. The ability to rob people of their senses. But we have now cut the nonsense and we are saying that Bam is on the level of a ranker because in his blog post too, when he beat that one K9 person, he was like, you can't really say that he's ranker level because that guy didn't use transformation. I'm like, so Bam didn't use the Thorn, the Black March, or any of the other things he has, so he's ranker level. What are we doing? So thank you for cutting the BS on that, SIU. And then when this war started with the first defensive wall and stuff, he just started showing out. This was like prime SIU. I'm like, okay, where were you hiding? Was you in the gym? Because this war has been absolutely fantastic so far. Seeing Doom and Paul against the Lopobia family branch leader and the wit of the Windbird, that was awesome. That was amazing. Seeing Paul kind of learn partial transformation and seeing Doom's abilities come to light and fruition, that was dope. Getting to see Shibisu help to some degree with Aguero to pinpoint the location of the sniper Lafave where Evankel goes to kind of crash into, and now they're gonna go find whatever is hidden in the nest, which is really cool. Got to see a poo throwing anima user. See some anima usage here, like so much to be impressed with, and then obviously Calivan's showing out, being an impregnable, being an invincible fortress, if you will, against Karaka and Bam, where Karaka is just doing everything he can to barely keep Calivan from killing or beating Bam, and then the thing where White comes through now, because okay, White versus Calivan Part 1 was pretty cool, by the way. That was pretty cool, but White versus Calivan Part 2 was really good because now he's trying to finally see White show out, because White for a long time has always been heralded as this great slayer and this and that and the third, but it's like, when am I going to really see it? And I got to see it. He took his arm with the wound that Bam made on him and stuff, and then Calivan was getting mad and desperate, knowing that his crew members were kind of in danger, his core was in danger, and then after it blew up, you saw that he was ready to go kill Liboric. I don't like that he's on our side for the time being, but we'll see how it plays out because execution is everything. So I'm not the type of person to knee-jerk overreact to something. I'm cautiously optimistic. That's all I'm going to say about that part. But in terms of Calivan's character and the way that it's growing and being fleshed out, I absolutely think it's amazing. I can't wait for more. Calivan has grown and grown and grown into being one of my favorite characters in Tower of God, slowly but surely. And I really like how SIU has started to draw the essence of bravery / nothingness now. I like how it really looks in this season. It looks amazing, awesome. But that fight was incredible. Because White right now is basically because of what Aguero did by having a bunch of people get bodied and then kind of powering up the souls with his flare and then getting up the ED souls, and it's just been really, really, really good because Aguero is being himself. He's doing really devious, kind of merciless tactics in pursuit of victory for us. Because like I always say with him and Ship, the difference is Ship is not as evil, so to speak. Like, not that Aguero's evil, but he's willing to dirty his hands much quicker than Shibisu would. Which Shibisu is kind of a nice guy, normal guy. That's all been good stuff. So a lot of these characters are getting their opportunity to shine in one way or another. I especially love when Hots is following White's trail of blood and death, and he kind of just calls him a murderer, and White's like, bro, I'm a swordsman. You're a swordsman. If you want to walk down this path and you're scared of being a murderer, this is not the way for you. The way you're swinging that, it looks like a garden tool. He's like, this is a weapon that kills, stabs, and slices. And you're here worrying about, don't pick a different path. I think Hotch needs to hear this. And Hotch is not particularly merciless. I've seen him hack through people without batting an eye. So, learn some of that White energy, man. Get some of that energy in you. And start dominating these fools out here. Because I really, really want to see Hatsu continue to get stronger with his sword as a regular person and eventually defeat somebody from the IDA family. And I have been hearing some very interesting theories moving forward. This is not a theory that I came up with. I wish I remember who I heard it from first. I feel like it might have been my friend Joey, but He thinks that perhaps the first person he's going to fight will be Arc-Raptor's daughter, who he believes from the RDA family. So stay tuned for all that. Now, let us talk about the best part of this season. Aside from Yama flexing his kind of full transformation, even though we haven't seen it like for real. Why did I say that like repeatedly? There's just like this one guy from like season 2. I don't know if you've ever heard me speak about this character or whatever. It's like not a character that I tend to speak about a lot. He wears like a cap. He's pretty small and chibi. He wears a lot of blue. There's like these baseball moves he learned. He has this technique called the blue. It's Mule Love. It's Mule Love. He's back. Let's go. Yo, I couldn't believe. Yo, what a Gus. And this nigga was in the needle. I said, yo, is Mule Love really here? Fam, he started showing out. They started talking about all the chicken he eats. By the way, that's how you forgot that he eats spicy and seasoned chicken, not fried chicken. That's what a Gus eats. He's on that side of the Chicken Love Club, but that's neither here nor there. You don't understand how big if you have not seen my live reaction to that chapter, you gotta go see it, because I went crazy. But I think around that time, I might stop my old webcam. I don't remember, but man. For anyone that doesn't know, Mule's my favorite character. My favorite character is here. And he's fighting, doing things. We got to see how he actually hates the Jihad army, the Jihad Empire, on top of F.U.G. for how they've messed with him in the past and his family and his surrogate family, if you will, replacement family. Like, we learn more about him. And now we're seeing him come to the field and fight, and the reason he's here makes sense. I don't like the idea that he's here for Bam, or that's the big reason he's here. That's whack. I feel like it makes the most sense that if Gus is going to help him find the people who murdered his parents from F.U.G., that is more than enough motivation. He cares about money. He got the bag. He's like, yo, this is how much money y'all finna give me? Okay, let's get it. So like, he has so many reasons for being here, and I think it's awesome. I absolutely adore this fucking ranker. He has one of my favorite character designs ever, and seeing him come and put in work. He was even bobbing and weaving and dodging Lopobia Fusil's attacks. He's here. And even seeing a Gus, his zigzag swordsmanship is interesting. Is he part of the RDA family? Did he learn some techniques? Because this swordsmanship that he's using, the drawing circles or whatever and zigzag and stuff, seems very cool. Like Sophia coming out, them using the needle launcher itself as a way to pierce through the wall after Bam dispelled the curse or whatever. For them to get through it was a pretty cool plan. Having people in there already that are powerful and prominent, I love it. And then he asked Ratchet coming up to play the game to match up with everybody, and this is actually where it ends. Caliban steps up. He wants to kill Liboric. We hear a couple of conversations about some of the like Masheni and Liboric talking about Bam's strength and his potential for the 100 million times. Could I just ask you guys a quick question here? If you feel like a series has done enough to make a point, like a point, the point is here. I'll just use the example I'm talking about here. Bam is an irregular. Bam is special. Bam is talented. Bam has a lot of latent talent. Do you guys not feel like this nail is in place? We know this. How many times do we have to hear somebody talk about he's like a shark in the pool? Like we get it. We don't need to keep hammering this point, right? Like we could stop. Like where everyone sees him like, how is a regular this strong? How can a C rank? Like, bro, give it a rest. We know Bam is that nigga. Just fight. We don't need all this extra commentaries. I think it's weird to hammer in a nail that's already in place, because now you're just fucking up the structure of the table or whatever you're building, right? Because it's already in place. Just stop. But yeah, that's about it, I have to say. So I've probably forgotten a million things I want to talk about, but we'll get into it again when I do some streams and stuff and some specific topics I want to talk about. I do wish Elaine was here, by the way, doing more stuff. I really miss a lot of the season 1 characters, a la Lori and Ran and shit, even Yoa and stuff. Like, she was Wolves, the captain, the master. Oh, by the way, seeing Jihad talk about how he was the first fisherman and using the golden needle from Mystery Island in his king form. That was awesome. That was all really cool. The captain, we did get a bit of wagging down and stuff, and seeing them wake up. I don't remember the name, Besamil, Casino, whatever. The guy with the hand, the devil hand and stuff. That was all cool and everything. Hopefully they get some focus down the line, and hopefully we do get that Yuri arc, or some focus on Yuri. One of those up with her. But I do think that since, like I said, the chapter where he kind of cuts the BS with the ranker stuff, having Bam win and hopping into the war, he has been doing a really good things, to the point where this might sound weird, but out of all the things that Bam pulled out during the course of this season, from the cutlery, the rest of transformation, to the shield, to the arrow, I think the people were most bothered by the arrow. That is the least egregious thing that happened, because we know about Bam's copycat ability. The moment he used the Soul Force to summon that bow and arrow, I knew he was going to learn how to teleport the needle out of the cage or whatever that they were in. Talk about the flagship that Yama was in and stuff. The reason why I say that is because we already know one of his thorns has a space-time ability, because of the way it warped him from the hidden floor when Jihad came through and was choking him. So the ability of him being able to kind of transport and teleport things, even if it's across short distances, is not crazy. And we have seen Urek use spatial distortion, which is something I think Bam will learn down the line, and maybe these are the beginning steps of him being able to eventually do that. So I don't think I forgot too much, but there's a lot of things I probably didn't mention. But I just wanted to kind of talk about season 3 in general. And you guys tell me how you felt about it. What are you excited to see moving forward in season 3 and whatnot? And I will stop rambling right here, right now. Respect Mule Love. He is the greatest. And I will not take any Mule Love slander in the comments. All right. Goodbye. So ever since Tower of God's come back from its hiatus, it's hard to say. There's a lot of great things happening as of right now. I truly believe that the stuff that's going on with Bam and White has been fantastic. I'm very interested in Van Kel, LaFave, and Han Sung Yu going into the deeper parts of the nest to figure out if they can stop the portal, possibly stop the Lopo via family head from coming. Got my guy Mio Love. Karaka did a 1-2 with little many waves, something. And there's a lot of intrigue here. And if you guys know, I completely changed my tune on the Asaracha and things of that nature. So I'm like, to just kind of not drag this on longer than it needs to be, I would put it like this. Season 3 to me, when Bam finally, like I said earlier, with the ranker, they cut the BS, it started to pick up, and the war has been good. It's been solid. It hasn't been perfect. There's a lot I don't like. There's a lot I like. There's a lot that I'm mixed on, or I have to see fully play out before I kind of come to my final conclusion on it. Bam is Bam, so I'm not gonna go. I'm a certified Bam lover, CBL now, so I'm not gonna go in on that. Hatu had his moment. That was cool. I think the Caliban Liborg thing is going to be very interesting, very intriguing. Machete has another Chaos Merchant type beat planned. You'll love to see it. I do fear that Bam could possibly beat White. I don't think it's a good thing for the story right now, but then again, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm not even going to go into that. But White has been great. He has been. And the Asaracha, the Yamo stuff has been interesting because we're diving into some of the more specifics of the local Bia family. However, I'm not a fan of Ryama just getting the tooth in his chest, and now he's like good. I don't know, that didn't inspire a lot of hype. I kind of killed it. I like Yasuachi a lot though. Honestly, like, he's a beast tamer. He's really strong. He's great. Anything that the canines can do, he can do. And I just have this inkling that he's posturizing to some degree and constantly projecting his own insecurity and fears onto Yama and some of the other people that he's quote-unquote taming. So there is that. What else did I want to mention briefly? Forgetting something majorly important. I don't know how and I don't know why, but there's a lot going on. I want to see Mio Love. Shout out to my goat. Hope he's out here being great, eating chicken, getting nice and powerful, nice and strong. I'm so happy Machete has a bloodshed plan. That's so great. We'll see what's going on with this dark skinned guy with the souls and everything, with Aria. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but that's all been quite fascinating. But yeah, I didn't actually want to ramble on for this part because I've been speaking about my thoughts on Tower of God every week, at least twice, so you guys probably have a general grasp on how I feel about it. I'm not going to go into great specifics right now, but that all being said, thank you guys for listening. Definitely like, subscribe, hit the bell of dawn so the Ghost the 13-month series does not get you. And before I leave, I want to say this: the backstories with some of Yes Ratchet's people was very interesting, but they were too long, especially that one with Haracha. Like, I didn't care. Oh, I mean, you had his little acid black hole moment. That was pretty dope. That was cool. Shout out to Cha for bodying Kendrick. That was pretty cool. Is it Haracha? Is that his name? Oh, Jordan's blind. No, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I just wish the execution of a lot of these things were just more consistent and had a better logical, internal logical consistency, but I'm not going to complain about it. It is what it is. We are here. I'm not going to lie to you guys, though. I mean, you can feel how you feel about this. I don't expect as much from Tower of God. Like, my expectations aren't as high as they used to be. That could possibly be playing into why I don't, I mean, I'm a critical dude. It is what it is. You guys have been here long enough to know that I don't care what it is. I don't care what I'm reading. I will criticize what I believe isn't up to snuff, isn't up to par. But I find myself letting a lot of things go because I'm like, I can't be bothered. It's not gonna change. It is what it is. All right, you guys, be well. Take care of each other. No, I remember now. Okay, real quick. I wanted Elaine to have such. Oh no, sorry, not even that. Well, I'll talk about that another day. The regulars don't have anything too significant to do, and like I said, how I want to judge what they're doing right now on the 52nd floor as good or bad is basically this. Is what they're doing to affect Yama's field, Calivan's field, Bam's field, and all that stuff. If it's actually rather significant in terms of they can affect the outcome of the map and stuff, fine, I'll take it. But Aguero and Ship, at the very least, I can always be like, they smart. They can always scheme and plan and do things in our, conniving and maniacal are more instinct, but just, big brain plans. They can always do that. Everyone else, though, I honestly find that the gap is just way too big. It's just like, this going to be consistent. Like, if Bam's going to be fighting some, like, a top 50 guy, and it's like, Kun Aguero over in the arcade room. Kun Aguero? Well, that's not, anyways. Aguero and, like, Ship and Rack are in a arcade, hitting Hadouken, Dragon Punch. Sorry. What is it actually called? Why am I struggling? Damn, man, my brain is fried. I'm tired. But yeah, they're doing Hadouken inputs to like do something. Like, nah, man. I want them to be able to actually compete to some degree. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, season 3 did correct a lot of issues that I have to some facet. I am happy to see more different abilities, not just beams and stuff like that. And diving into the local Be a Family lore has been intriguing in its own right. Learning that Yama and Doom and Paul aren't full siblings, half breeds, except for Doom, which is why he's the one who can create the K9 people. But yeah, it's cool, man. The fight's been good. The fights have been solid too, so no major complaints from me.